basically the cutoff on when we can spend those funds. So, yeah, just any other questions you have? Tom and I are here to answer any questions. So.
Great, thanks. Questions from committee members?
I don't have any questions for him. I think that we did, we heard from the neighbors, and I get it. You guys need to get the work done. I understand that. But I also am surrounded by construction and have been for the last few years, and Saturdays suck. So I get that folks are upset. So this is, typically these are easy slam dunks. No one comes in and opposes it like the one we just did for Ottawa over here, but this is right on top of people. So on this one, I won't be supporting it. I just, I get the work needs to get done, but I also understand the need for some peace and quiet in people's houses. So
yeah, I respect your position on that. I think back to last year when we also did not support the noise waiver. I believe it was for this area of the city as well. And at that time, there was a conversation amongst council members up at the dais saying, why are you coming to us with this now? Like, give it some time to see, are these additional days actually needed, instead of just planning ahead for potential delays, right? And so I know that was a conversation, a back and forth about the noise waivers in general. And because we did ultimately not pass the noise waiver last year, and here we are again with another ask for a noise waiver, to me, that signals that there is a need to wrap up and complete the project. The additional days would be beneficial. And I do empathize with the neighbors in that neighborhood. And it's trying to strike a balance, right? These decisions aren't easy to make, but it could be that Saturdays are utilized and the project is complete by that specific date we need it to be completed by, or Saturdays are not utilized and then the ultimate timeline is extended. So in my perspective, at this point in time, now that you are coming back and saying, we could use the additional Saturdays, and they were denied before, you're coming back, it could potentially be the same number of days. Is it compressed or is it prolonged at this point? So again, I know that we kind of struggle with these decisions and we have empathy for the neighbors. But for those reasons, I just like to say this go around, I will be inclined to support the noise waiver. But I totally understand and respect council members' costs perspective on that. We don't take these things lightly, especially when they have a daily impact within our neighborhoods.
Another problem you run into going into the end is there's a lot of paving to do. And typically in our industry, Saturdays are normal work day. And as you guys know, on most CSO projects, most of them do get the waiver. So the problem we've run into a little bit also is with like paving subcontractor. They schedule Saturdays as a normal part of their work week. So like if we're ready to pave and we tell them we can't pave on Saturday, well, then that means like we might not pave for another 4 or 5 days, just because that's just how that works. So that's another issue that has come up, especially as we come down to the end of the season. So
yeah, they'll pull off and go on another job.
They can work Saturdays. So that's been a little bit of an issue too.
So it just sort of kind of compounds on itself. And but yeah, we've been, I will say, despite a lot of the complaints, I believe that Levin Stark has done a fantastic job on trying to accommodate the neighbors as much as we can. I know there's some people who have voiced a lot of opposition to a lot of stuff, but I really feel like the majority of the neighbors are, fairly pleased with their work. I've gotten several, emails and correspondence, complimenting them on their work. So I think, they've done what they can to appease the issues, I guess I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like an escape room everywhere you go around. You have to take a different route to go everywhere.
It's,
Feels that way.
It drives me
Yes.
nuts, so.
Yeah.
Cedars on construction.
It's hard for us too.
Day is a new reroute every single day. Councilmember Cost, do you have
And
comments?
that's, I just want to be clear, it's not a question of the work that you guys are doing.
Understood.
I understand that. I just, I get it. Like Saturdays are special, the noise is awful, or can be awful that me, or something. So, I get it. I'm curious, last year, when the waiver was not granted, did that impact or make the work late?
It just keeps.
yeah, I think it definitely had, I mean, originally this project, so a long time ago, was slated for a 2-year project. Once we got to, I think in the very early planning stages it was, but at the time we hired them, it was a 3-year project. And, there's, as soon as we put a bucket in the ground, essentially we were delayed by 3 months because we had in a very intense contamination at Saginaw and Butler that it took a lot of specialized equipment and special handling. So it really pushed us back on that. So yeah, I mean, I think part of losing last year's Saturday and the majority of this year's Saturday work has, there's not an opportunity to make up for rain days when you don't have the Saturday. So that's really the thing. So yeah, I don't know if it was, added that much more time, but it did have some effect on the schedule. So
Okay.
Definitely added time. I mean, just because you don't have those days.
yeah.
A contributing factor.
In our business, and like I mentioned, it's just when the weather's good, you have to take advantage of, and that's the unfortunate part about construction in Michigan.
Yes.
You're limited. So, and Saturday, and the thing is, like with the Saturdays, it's different. Every company's different. I've worked for other companies where it's different, but we typically don't work past like 1 o'clock on Saturdays. So it's usually just the morning up until early afternoon. We don't work full days just because by then people start to lose interest on our end as well.
Just enough to wake folks up in the morning.
That's we don't start till 8, but on Saturdays, but yes. Yep.
I do have one quick question. I understand you had said something about the funding and a deadline for that, and you're working on that with Eagle, but remind us what the projected end date is for this project overall. When do you expect
Right
completion?
now, we have a substantial, so we have in construction contracts, there's a substantial completion and a final completion date. Substantial is, basically everything's done. Final completion is we create what's called a punch list. And so it's just a lot of missing items that need to get addressed. But with all the time extensions we've had on this project, our substantial completion date is October 8th.
Of this year.
Of this year, and a final completion date of November 8th. Again, like we said, we get into fall, we get a lot more rain days, so we start losing some of that. So there's potential that we could end up extending that. We hope not to. I mean,
we are not ahead of schedule right now, but I mean, I'll be honest, this is tight. It's a lot of it's a difficult project, and there's a lot going on. So this is very, very, very tight, very tight.
I was warned as I took this role on that I would become very familiar with the CSO project, all of the inner workings and the variables and all of that happens. So, but thank you for that. And again, I'm sure those dates are with a caveat of if everything goes according to plan.
Yeah.
Those are the projected dates. Okay. Well, thank you. If there's no further discussion.
I mean, I think the biggest thing for me that sticks out is one, the potential loss of funding, right? And the deadline coming up, and we're this close for it to be being done. So let's, push through and get this done.
Yeah.
Right. So I would move the resolution for the noise special permit for item D.
Okay, it's a proper motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Thank you. Motion passes 2-1.
This would go to the 24th?
24th, yep.
Okay, all right. Okay. All right, thank you.
You.
Thank you.
Yep. And the last item on our agenda is a discussion item. You'll see this paper that was added to our packet for budget priorities for the fiscal year 27-28. This is really just an opportunity for us to begin thinking about what priorities we would like to submit on behalf of this committee. If you have priorities that fall beyond the scope of this committee's work, those would need to be introduced through the committee of the whole process when we talk about budget priorities for the upcoming year. So we can see there were a few that were highlighted, and those were for fiscal year 23-24. But it looks like this committee has not pushed anything out in the previous 3 fiscal years. Is
Second
that
round.
correct?
No, it's either stayed the same or they just had nothing to add.
Okay. Councilmember Cost.
Well, I think both of those probably should get scrapped and we should start fresh. 'Cause those are 3 years ago, and I have some ideas.
That's fantastic. Would you like to just talk about
Yeah.
those now? Okay, perfect.
So one of the ideas, reading through the definition of city operations and
Mhm.
trying not to get into other committees' business.
Mhm.
I did list funding sidewalks at 2 million. But that doesn't necessarily have to be a thing, because I think public safety typically covers that issue. Even though really it is a city operations question.
Mhm.
I also did that tour with the wastewater treatment plant, and from what I saw, we certainly could put in a priority that we increase the budgetary funding for wastewater. It's, after going on the tour, it's amazing how critically important that is and how old some of the things are that they're using there. The other thought was recycling bins within our parks and in our public places next to trash bins. Perhaps funding a pilot program initially with that, similar to when you go to MSU or East Lansing, rather, downtown Grand River, they have
Mhm.
trash, recycling. I think they have a third bin, but I could be wrong. I would really like to see, though, an option to recycle, because as someone that walks by these trash bins, they're
Yeah.
always full of recycling materials that could be not going to the landfill.
Mhm.
And then the last thing I had kind of spitballed was creating a strategic fund for our historic pools. I think we just closed Hunter for the year.
Mhm.
Moore's Park is going to be online next summer.
Correct.
And I certainly don't want to end up in the situation we were in where this is what, year 7 of that pool being closed, and
Mhm.
it's near and dear to my heart. I would love to see a strategic fund created to make sure that we don't end up here again with our pools.
Yeah.
Similar to the fund, I think, that they created for Rudder.
Too, but that's pretty common in other too, but that's pretty common in other
It is.
municipalities.
And I think that we have the distinct advantage of actually having that recycling center directly at the South operations.
Mhm.
So if we did have to sort it, we could sort it there. That would be an operational question, but from what I can tell right now, we use like our older trash truck, which is just like the pickup with the back end on it, the little compactor, to pick those bags up. So I assume, because that picks up lawn and leaf, they use it for everything.
Mhm.
They could use it for the same thing for recycling, just dump the bin in and
Mhm.
smoosh it down.
Open along. Yeah, that's really interesting. So thank you for bringing those ideas today. We will, like I said, keep this on as a discussion item and take more suggestions along the way. So thanks for that.
Yeah, we have 3 additional meetings before it gets submitted. So we
Mhm.
have the 27th, September 10th, and September 24th.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds great. Okay, we're off to a strong start already. Thank you. Okay, anything else Councilmember Cost.
I just have a quick inquiry.
Sure.
I didn't catch it until we said it. June 30th, 2030 for that appointment. So I thought that all appointments were gonna end with the new ordinances we passed in what, 2029?
Thank you. That just passed.
Also the
So,
date.
yeah.
Because this is 2030, right?
Yeah, this is June 30th, 2030.
Well, I think it also said in what we just passed that all of those expiration dates would be adjusted to reflect 2029. But this is an interesting space because we're just past having voted that in, yet the language reflects what we were doing before.
Yeah, I guess we have time before this gets to council, so if
Yeah.
the question could get asked, I don't know.
For the timeline.
Yeah,
whether
like,
This goes to. or
Yeah.
previous Timeline or the new timeline.
correct. And
Yeah.
if these should be saying 2029, because I know that he won't serve until that date. It will end up at
Expires
2029.
6/31/29 should
Yeah.
be the expiration date.
So does this need to, yeah.
Yeah,
I
good
guess the
catch.
question is, does that need to be changed?
Yeah.
And furthermore, any of the appointments that come through.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, thanks for that question. If we could have even an email on that, that would be helpful. And then we can adjust our language.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, with no further business on the agenda, we are adjourned at 4:25 PM. Thanks, everyone.